Hi, this is Tony Scarborough. On Monday, the 2nd of November 2015, at the Lowther Pavilion Theatre in Lytham, I had the great pleasure of speaking to tenor Jonathan Antoine before he went on stage on the first night of his first solo UK tour. Okay, Jonathan Antoine, thank you for giving up some of your valuable time to speak to me today before your now sellout concert at the Lowther Pavilion in Lytham.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Now, I've been doing a little bit of research. You were born in a place called, and I don't know if I pronounce this properly, Hainault?
Yes, indeed. Hainault, Essex.
Now, your dad a police inspector and your mum a housewife.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Not a typical background for a concert tenor, I wouldn't have thought.
Well, I guess not, but we're different strokes for different folks, I guess is the phrase.
Exactly, exactly. Now, when was it first realised that you were born with this great gift of a great singing voice?
Thank you very much. I started singing when I was... Well, I've always sung. I've always had an interest in, when I was a tiny little kid, I would sing and dance to whatever was on the radio. But when I got into secondary school, I started taking lessons from the age of 11, and from there it's just been a long journey. Like, my voice broke somewhere in there, and that's where it all started to really come out.
Right. Now, I understand at an early age, two ladies played key roles in your development as a singer. Jenny Ewington, is it right? And Jeanette Brown.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how they helped you?
Yeah, well, Jeanette Brown, or as she was back then, Jeanette Tomlinson, she was the head of music at West Hatch, where I was at high school, and she was just a ton of fun. She was always, thinking of new, interesting stuff. Like, she made sure our exams weren't boring, which I will always be thankful for. And Jenny Ewington, I still go and see her occasionally to get tips and tricks. But she was the school singing teacher, and we developed a really good relationship. And as I say, I keep seeing her occasionally. Yeah,
that's right. Now, you mentioned just a couple of minutes ago about your voice breaking, which I understand was at the age of around about 13.
Yeah, 13, 14.
How did you cope with that new challenge in your singing?
It was very, very strange, because as people whose voices are broken will know, it doesn't just one day go all the way down. There was this whole long transitive period where one day I would be higher than before, and the next day it'd be, I'd have lost all my top range, and it was tough. And I think a lot of people decide to stop singing when their voice breaks. Yeah. And if you just keep going, then there's something at the end of the tunnel.
That's right. And then you auditioned for and were accepted for a place at the Royal Academy of Music. In fact, it looks to me as if they didn't choose you chose them to a certain extent, because you've been accepted for 4 other music academies as well.
Yeah, I went and tried out for all of the London conservatoires, and
I wondered how you said that word. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, conservatoire. Yeah, a word I'd not heard until then. And they all sort of offered me their individual place, and I was absolutely blown away, especially at the time, because I was just me. I'd never done anything of note, but I ended up choosing the Royal Academy because it was close. It had the best staff that I could have seen, and the building was beautiful. Everything all just was right for me.
Yeah. And as well as singing, you also took up guitar lessons?
Yes.
Do you still play?
I do, in fact.
Any good? You don't have to be modest.
Debatable.
You don't have to be modest.
I've been playing for, 7-8 years, and I'm not where I'd like to be, but I think that's a guitarist problem, hopefully not entirely a me problem.
Now, you just taking it a bit forward a little bit, you applied for and were accepted for the TV series Britain's Got Talent, and probably, as they say, the rest is history, I suppose. You were runners-up, of course, in the final to, we won't mention who won, but you were signed up by Simon Cowell.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose we'd all like to know this. What's he like?
That is, it's kind of a hard question because you don't really get to interact with him that much, even when you're on his label, because there's so many employees there, and he is a tremendously busy man. You come to find out. He's constantly in different places all over the globe. But the few times that I did get to meet him, he was a really stand-up guy.
Yeah.
And you can understand that, because no one gets to where he is without knowing exactly how to respond, play, and just adapt to situations. And you can see that in the way that he talks and moves, and he will make you feel like the most important person in the room, in any room, and that is a very valuable skill.
Now, you had 2 highly successful albums and a UK tour. Then Charlotte and yourself decided it was the right time to pursue separate careers. How difficult was that decision at that time?
Overall, it wasn't a tough decision, really, because we'd gone as far as we thought we'd go. Really, we'd gone much further than we thought we'd go. To be fair, we'd had the tour, we'd had 2 albums, and it was as good a time as any.
Yeah. And then, of course, in October 2014, so about 12 months or so ago, you released your solo album, Tenor. Now, did the huge success of the album really take you at all by surprise in any way? It was massively successful, wasn't it?
Every time that people buy a single copy of my album, I'm surprised. And it's just fantastic to think that people could be enjoying something that I put my time and effort into, and it was a massive surprise, and the fact that people are still buying it, and it's crazy. and so to the start of your first UK solo tour and your first night here in Lytham. Now, what's the routine? How does it work? Routine? I'm not much one for routine, I'd say, but it's just a matter of getting to where we need to be and then getting as much rest as possible before the gig.
Okay. Just before we finish, if I could just take you back very briefly to the days when perhaps life for Jonathan Antoine wasn't quite as good as it is today. I've read that you suffered bullying as a child, which unfortunately a lot of people do. Now, what would you say to those bullies today as you embark on your first solo countrywide tour?
I guess what I'd like, in a way, what everyone would like to say would be, haha, I beat you, or whatever, but I'd just like to say, good luck and I love you and be safe in life, and the same sentiment I would give to anyone.
Now, finally, what about this fantastic legion of loyal fans you've got, the Fantones? I mean, they've even granted my colleague Ross and myself honorary membership. I mean, I don't suppose you could really wish for better support.
They're incredible. They have been just from the start, from before the audition even aired. It was they were incredible, and they always have been.
Now, it's often been said, never meet your heroes, as you'll be disappointed. I can assure anyone listening who considers Jonathan to be their hero that if they had the privilege to meet him, they wouldn't be disappointed at all. Jonathan, thank you so much for speaking to me today, and for the pleasure you bring to so many, but perhaps, just as importantly, for being a thoroughly good bloke. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.